This panel session is discussing the intersection between religion and pop culture and the realities of modern families. So, I'll start with my darling sister, Maryam Lemu. How should we navigate the influence of pop culture on our family, in our family's religious beliefs and values?
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much to the organizers of this amazing event. My heart is just so fulfilled that I was able to come all the way from Minna, Niger State, to be here. It's such a wonderful pleasure. I feel a bit embarrassed after my auntie has finished showing that, her brain power has been carrying dumbbells and doing weightlifting, and I've got expo. I find since I hit 50, my brain cannot remember much. So I wrote down some things just to make sure I don't forget, but all those that came before me, Prof is not here. I just wanted to say everything he said. He was just singing to me, my auntie and all the other panelists. I think when there is change, where there's disruption, one has to recognize that the climate was ripe for certain things to come in. And it's really important, regardless of our faiths, that we recognize that the family is the bedrock of society. Even religion can only thrive where you have a healthy family that sets the tone as to how we actually live our various faiths. So when that tie that binds our values, our culture, our religion is threatened, then we do need to put aside our differences and stop bickering and fighting and uniting together for a common cause, to fight a common enemy. And what is that common enemy? There is a deliberate, intentional campaign propaganda out there to dilute our values, our principles, our religion, the goodness that keeps the family together. So we do need to stop fighting and wake up to comparing notes, sharing best practices, and fighting a common enemy. Our kids are no longer safe watching Teletubbies or Sesame Street or whatever is on TV. If you're not careful, your child is doing their assignment, and before you know it, an OnlyFans ad pops up with nude women, men, doing all sorts of things that you can't imagine. Sadly, screen time is the most dangerous thing out there for our children and for us. So we do need to wake up. I'm so ecstatic about this conference because I think this is what we need, more collaboration across various tribes, across the various faiths, so that we are united and there is power in numbers. So this is what is needed. I'm concerned that so many groups are out there that are doing amazing things, but there is no collaboration, and we are not an island. I cannot, as a Muslim, sit there and say, oh, it's a Christian problem, and do Sidon look, which many of us do. Christians can't afford to do that, because our values when it comes to our faith is universal. God is God. Principles, respect, dignity, family, this is universal. It is exactly the same in both our faiths. So we do need to work together to try and bring, hopefully, a force that is to be reckoned with, that's stronger than what the negative influence of pop culture is. So when I did my homework to see what IFED and all these other organizations that have sponsored and have supported and are here today are doing, I was just ecstatic to think that there are over 700 practitioners that IFED has actually trained, over 1,000 now. This is absolutely amazing. And I think that's what is needed. This train the trainers, this program of empowering people so they can influence people in their immediate circle of influence. When I established the Marriage Academy, what was my biggest concern? I'd been married I thank God, I've been married now for almost 32 years. And when I got married, for the first 6 years, we went through hell. We went through a roller coaster of emotions, love, hate, passion, disgust, disappointment, like things I never imagined. Like that hunka-chunka burning love I fell in love with suddenly turned into an alien when we fought. When he got angry, I felt his forehead was throbbing and swelling. His lips looked like Bomo lips in my eyes. Like I didn't recognize the man I loved so much because some very strange emotions were going on. I didn't do premarital counseling. I went into marriage with unrealistic expectations. And because I saw a beautiful love story in my parents' marriage, I assumed that that model, the sweet nothings that my husband was telling me, I thought the sun would rise and set and he'd be looking into my eyes and telling me, I love you, honey. Like, I thought it would flow into marriage. And boy, was I wrong. 2 weeks into our marriage, we had our first fight. I swear to God, I asked for a divorce. Because I didn't know couples fight. My brother and I never saw our parents exchange a harsh word, raise voices, show they are not talking to each other. So I thought that's what we would have and it would flow into my marriage. So it took years, up to 6 years before we started finding our groove. But we reached our lowest of the low, and at that time I wanted out. And I share my story of what we went through and the turning point in the relationship. Then I went into this field of building families, focusing on our values, our faith, being God-conscious and God-fearing, and using that as the tie that binds us, and the traditions, the beautiful traditions of our African culture. So I started the Marriage Academy, I started premarital counseling, and we've had thousands of people enroll, but we don't have enough. So for me, this is what I love. And we are also moving into TTC and TOTs, but I am so excited about this opportunity. It is so important that we start to enlighten, educate people, because as far as I'm concerned, every speaker that has come here has emphasized the importance of premarital. We have to start from the ground up, not from top down. That is the key. Before they say I do, we have to make sure couples go into marriage with the right tools, skills necessary to navigate the obstacles that do exist in marriage. I was a victim of thinking things would be perfect. And I had what I call my greatest weapon of mass destruction, my mouth. I used it to go for blood. When my husband upset me, I said whatever came to my mind unfiltered. And I went for the jugular. However, it didn't make things better. For him, he would bottle things up. He would say, Maryam, not now. I would say, no, now. Me, I cannot go to bed with a heavy heart. We must hash it out now. Of course, we had different ways of communicating. And I didn't know how to communicate effectively. I learned the hard way, but we need more who learn how to get it right so that they teach, because many are lacking seeing what a good model of a beautiful Christian or Muslim family is meant to look like. So if they didn't see it in the home, they can't give what they didn't see. We can't teach what we don't have. We are simply passing on the baton of almost a generational curse. And history will keep repeating itself until we cut and break the cycle and start intentional trainings, teachings, to try and counter this force that is out there with propaganda and deliberate intentional plans of disrupting what actually brings you peace, harmony, and makes a society thrive. When I counsel couples that are intending to get married, and I say, why do you want to get married? Oh, we're in love. I'm like, okay. And what are your goals? What's your mission? What do you hope to come together to achieve? Oh no, we're in love. All that will fall into place. I'm sure you want to have kids someday. What are your goals of what you want to impart? What values do you want to give our children? And we'll sort that out. We'll cross that bridge once we get there. Unfortunately, because they didn't see, they go in blind. There is no big picture, no eye on a target. And there is this beautiful quote that says, if you don't know where you're going, then any road will take you there. And that is the sad reality for so many. So on the topic to do with pop culture, when you read the biographies of those who have created these things that are trending, that everybody, our kids and even some of us, are eager to be part of, whether it's the MTV movement, which started, I think it took hold in the 90s. And I was one of those who would watch and see how generations are changing and are being influenced by pop culture. Then you've got coming in of Instagram, TikTok, and all these. Go back and read the biographies of those who established and set up this thing that is now, has its strength, but honestly, I think there are lots of damage. There's so much damage that it's causing. You find they are the millennials. They established it. They are the Gens, X, Zs, and Ys that established it. Go back and check their story. You will find out they lacked guidance. They lacked proper family units, values. And then they now take advantage of what we know is a reality. Our children are bored. We're suffering from absentee parents. Parents have found the most convenient babysitter. Then they get exposed to what is someone else's narrative of what the norm should be. What shocks you and I in this room today, I swear to God, our children's children will see it as norm. And I think that's the bigger concern, that bad is made to look so cool. I remember when my eldest son went to Canada to school, he said, Mama, being good is so uncool. You are rejected, you are laughed at, you are mocked if you talk about, no, I can't go out and do this, or I can't smoke that. He said it's so hard if you don't talk about the head count of how many girls you've slept with. He said you are seen as the nerd, the misfit, and you are pushed aside, ostracized, and you don't feel like you belong. And that's what social media, pop culture is doing. You need to belong. You need to be the happening guy or girl. If you want to be cool and trending, you need to fit into our narrative of what we consider to be good. So I think this is my point, or what I'm trying to make is we parents have to get up. And I think my auntie said that. We're so busy being busy that we lose sight of what really matters most. We're in this rat race, and sadly, we are going to be the ones who suffer the consequences of the damage we have created. Our children didn't ask to be born. We chose to have them with God's blessing, but we are still responsible, and God will hold us accountable for what values we instill within them and the ones we didn't. In the name of sophistication, enlightenment, that we are open-minded and so on, we are more liberal, we weaponize our kids with this most convenient babysitter. And our children's screen time becomes something that is causing the problem we're seeing today. So it's about us. Like my brother, the actor who just left, mentioned, it's not Instagram that is the problem. It is us not having the tools to know wrong from right. Before you know it, your child wakes up one day and suddenly, bzz, bzz, and you're like, what's that? Bzz, today I identify as a mosquito. What the heck? Mosquito in my house? Like, for God's sakes. So we need to understand that you and I in this room are not likely to wake up tomorrow and say, oh, I am gay. Hardly anybody in this room is going to suddenly wake up tomorrow. But what I'm more concerned about is the bigger danger out there. What is the biggest danger out there is what they are seeing, pornography. As a marriage counselor, the biggest problem after infidelity that I deal with my marriage academy is addiction to porn and addiction to masturbation. It is destroying families, destroying homes. Parents are addicted, children are addicted. We run several schools, and one of the schools we run, I'm very closely associated with, which is the secondary school. And you find that by the time cases come before us, disciplinary cases of kids who were caught doing something wrong, you sit, you counsel, you investigate. You find out since primary 5, this child got exposed to porn. By JS2, they are addicted to masturbation. Then we wonder why there are so many women who are now running. There's so much infidelity by women because of sexual dysfunction. The man cannot satisfy his wife. So the domino effect of these kind of dangerous things going on, traits, has not been highlighted because a lot of topics are taboo. So I think we just need to go back to good old family values and bring it to the table. Have organizations like this shout out loud, religious groups, scholars, people in the pulpit, our pastors and so on. We need to talk about it in front of the congregation. We need to also do it at the education level and not allow someone else's agenda and blackmail stop us from preserving what makes us what we are. I was raised by an African father. My father was Nupe. My mother was British. I can never say Western ideology is bad. No. My mother taught me about manners, etiquette, no talking while eating, blah, blah, blah. My father taught me African values, and my stepmother as well. May God bless their souls. My stepmother taught me about our culture of going down, greeting our elders. When my kids were growing up, We cannot be sitting in a chair and my child acts like my mate and is sitting in the same chair with me. It's only now that they are adults we can sit together. But that thing of respect has almost completely gone. I cannot correct my neighbor's child. I had my neighbors slap the stupid out of me when I was growing up. And I hate that today I cannot do that without somebody saying, what you did is going to make me take my child to see a shrink, because we don't do that in our house. Anyway, I'll shut up now.
Oh my goodness. Okay, because we're out of time, I'm going to put your rapid question and the second questions together. And this goes for Sister Maryam, and it is, okay, in this new age of Japa movement, what are the practical steps that you would give to parents in helping them to manage their original culture without their children being overwhelmed by the looming popular culture of other societies? And then tell us, share a little bit of the story that is most distinct. What is the most distinct popular culture today in modern families that scares or amuses you, that was so different from your own upbringing?
Okay, so quickly, I think if I am to say, how do we solve the challenge we are facing? That'll never go away because it's a movement and it's very organized. I think let's look at what happened more recently when the COVID outbreak came about. Everybody panicked, people were confused for a while, and as the dust started to settle, you found out there was a lot of testing, a lot of experimenting with various drugs before they finally found what they believed is a more permanent solution to what became the new norm. And I think that's how we look at it. And like China discovered the hard way, tragically, is that you cannot isolate, you cannot quarantine, you cannot compartmentalize something like this. It's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. Many of us got that news, got that memo. I think the pop culture movement, it'll always be there till the end of time. Something will always be new, something will be the latest, and society will often, lap that up because that's what makes sales. It's an economic, a beautiful economic plan. What I believe, like the COVID solution, is to properly immunize and vaccinate our children, starting in the homes with our families. Like I said, the people in this room are less likely, highly unlikely, to be influenced that so much that maybe, let's look at just the LGBT movement, highly unlikely will they wake up tomorrow and say, oh no, I no longer consider heterosexual relationships to be what I want, I've chosen to do this. Because the seeds that have been planted in all of us here are the right seeds of our traditions, of our values, and of our faith. The same thing needs to continue. We have a responsibility to pass on the baton to the next generation the right way by immunizing them. We can't stop them from leaving our shores. Even in their schools, they will be influenced by others. But if you do your job right and stop being the absentee parent, stop weaponizing them with devices with no censorship, no guidance, no code of conduct as to what is ethical, what is proper, what is godly, what will please your maker and what will offend your maker, our maker, then you have a problem on your hands, and that child is more likely going to be influenced by it. So they need to have a compass that will guide them on the right path. With regard to my childhood, I still consider myself to be old school. I grew up during the good old days, and that wasn't more than 50 years ago, but where we could wander around safely without our parents worried about where we go, what we have done, and so on. Things were safe, and we were raised in a very, very close-knit family where values, God-fearing, principles were part of our code of conduct. The equivalent for me of what's considered to be video games or what the high is that people get from going on social media and so on was when my brothers and I had a half-brother as well, my mother was raising him, we would take some grains of rice that we saved from our lunch and go out on weekends to look for anthills. And we would drop it close to the entrance of the anthill and just patiently wait. and then an ant would come, touch it, go do amebo to the others in the nest. Then before you know it, 20, 30, 100 ants come, lift up a grain of rice, and everybody wants to see whether theirs will get into the hole before the next person. And that was adrenaline, action, excitement for us, not the screen. When we went in front of the screen, it was as a family, with my mom and my dad watching, where they can correct things that may not be giving us what we need as part, or do not align with our values. I think if there's anything disturbing for me right now is how a lot of us parents are dropping the ball, where we give our kids so much we can't say no. Oh my God, my dad says no, end of discussion, better find your level. That culture of respect was it. Children don't talk back or raise their voices. You don't throw temper tantrums. That is the use of the belt and the shoe and the broom and the stick that we use to turn tuwo. You know, everything has its function, but you can't even think it. From outside, I loved my dad. I described him as a teddy bear and a grizzly bear. He was Winnie the Pooh and he was a grizzly bear, because from outside, if you are misbehaving in any way, he does, we know. Even when you're not doing wrong, you quickly check yourself. You arrange yourself because Baba has come home. So that is something that I'm concerned about, that we have lost. And these are the cultural, not religious values that created a very healthy, thriving society of respect. Respect for one another, respect for humanity, respect for our differences. I went to a unity school, FGC Mina. I loved my Christian brothers and sisters. I still do. I was raised in a family of bridge builders. Peaceful coexistence, interfaith. My mom was born to the Church of England. So that's one of the values that I took from my parents. And my dad, up until the time he died, he was the known face for the interfaith dialogue. So for me, the divisiveness we have today, the bigotry, the tribalism, that's of deep concern, because it goes back to the family. It goes back to the home. If I look at my sister sitting here and as she said, I look down on this person, make them feel they are inferior. In my religion, superiority complex is the devil syndrome. It's Shaitan syndrome. It's Satan syndrome of looking down. He was too big to bow down to Adam. So for me, those are the kind of values we as parents need to make sure we imbibe in our children, of respect, not instant gratification, reward for no effort. Not I want and you say how many. Is it the latest or the one that's yet to be released? Like, we need to learn to say no, because that is love. Not giving too much. Not doing everything for them that they are crippled. They can't do anything for themselves. One thing I love my parents for, and my mother, as the first school I had, is she not only taught me to live, my brother and I, by teaching me what life is, equipping me with life skills. She taught me carpentry. She taught me singing. She taught me how to use different musical instruments. She taught me to play in sand. She danced in the rain with me. She taught me how to slaughter a ram, how to slaughter a chicken. She taught me so many life skills. So not only did she teach me to live, but she equipped me with the tools to live without her, to go out there with the right values so that I can thrive in the real world, not be a menace to society, and not lack what it's needed to teach my own children and pass on the baton the right way.